What is up, guys? It's Brandon here today, and today I'm not gonna be dipping actually. Um, this video is more lean towards one second. Is more lean towards PTSD, which is an acronym for post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, a lot of time PTSD comes from war veterans, and I always thought of my disorder. I thought it'd be disrespectful to say I had PTSD because I'm not a soldier. I just thought like it was frowned upon because I never seen combat. So how do I know what PTSD is? Well, I did some research on it, and or like when people ask like, you know, like what if I say like I admit to someone I have PTSD, and then they ask, what branch were you in? And then you say like I wasn't in a branch. And they kind of like look at you like you're lying or like you don't know anything about it, like you don't understand, which is a big misunderstanding actually. Um, PTSD is pretty much a combination of depression, anxiety, flashbacks, night terrors, which I have all the time. Now I'll get to that. Um, Night terrors. There's triggers that will boost your PTSD. Like for war veterans, it's, fireworks or air horns or helicopters or anything that can bring them back to what they witnessed, back in war. Well, my dad is a uh, pedophile, and when I went through his phone before the cops took it, I went through his pictures and I found um, naked little girls on his phone. And that just broke me inside. My heart dropped to my chest, like my heart just dropped, and I just thought, this is real. And it was the most sickening. I was 13 years old at the time looking at 9-year-olds naked, and it still disturbed me. It disturbed me. I was like, this is sick. It was sick. And to know that my dad had a hold of these just devastated me, just crushed me inside. Um, PTSD is when you like go through a traumatic event or you witness something traumatic. It's often caused when you suddenly lose a loved one, or you've been in a car accident, or you've just seen something horrific. And in my brain processed those images horrific. I've also been in a car accident, uh, which led to my dad leaving me for the past 2 years and something months. I haven't seen my dad, and me and my dad were close as can be. He was my dad, and I loved him, and we were buddies. He was like the closest thing I loved him like the most out of everything. And when you suddenly have something just ripped from you, and you can no longer have contact, like I said, haven't seen or heard or even heard his voice or seen him in over 2 years, and that falls in the category which was also in PTSD, which is losing you loves like suddenly, like losing someone you loved suddenly, and it was very sudden. And I lost him due to that car accident, and so car accident was on there, which check that off. Losing a loved one suddenly, check that one off. Um, Witnessing something horrific, check that one off. My brain plays out those images as horrific. It disturbs my brain mentally, and it really gets to me. Now, these the past year, the first year into my dad disappearing, like not my dad going to jail, um it was you know, I saw the images, they were disgusting, they disturbed me, but how do I want to say this? I wasn't thinking about it on a daily basis. I was able to forget it. I was more in shock at the time. But now it's been a while, and I realized that my dad is gone. All the memories I made with him were fake and now taken from me. The images inside my head when I started taking Strattera, which is an antipsychotic, um, that triggered, uh, the images in my head. I'd be sitting in church and I had these naked little girls in my head, and they couldn't get out, and I was scared. It literally scared me. Like, I cried in church because the images in my head couldn't get out, and I'm like, I'm in church and I'm thinking these things. Like, this is just horrible. And I was like, and I wanted to kill myself. I was actually going to kill myself because and I'm not like exaggerating at all. I was seriously going to kill myself to get these, how do I want to say, to get these memories out of my head. And I decided before I do anything, like that fatal, I might go talk to my doctor and tell him that I'm having bad effects and take me off this. I pretty much demanded, and I said it to him. I said I wouldn't take it if you still prescribed me, and I said I wouldn't take it. I'd refuse to take it. I'm not taking it. So a month goes by, and I'm off the medication. I don't experience those thoughts as much as I did. Like, as I said, the first year I hardly ever thought of it. I was still in shock. But after the years come on, it takes a toll on you. To be honest, it does. And now I have um, nightmares, horrible nightmares about killing. About there once probably one of the scariest was um, these little girls were wearing dresses and they had a rope around their neck and their eyeballs were complete white, and like 5 or 6 of them just walked towards my bed, um, and it just woke me right out of my sleep. It scared the living piss out of me. I got up and I was pacing back and forth right here, and I went outside the door and I was going to walk into my mom's bedroom, and then I was like, you know what? No. So I tried going back to bed. I really couldn't. Um, so yes, I have really bad night terrors. Um, Also, the how do I want to say it? The triggers, like right now you might think I'm normal, but when I'm not making videos or like when it's myself, I'm emotionally detached from people. I find it hard keeping a relationship. I find it hard even talking to someone because it's like they're talking through me. It's like they're talking through me, and I don't even like really process what they're saying. My thoughts are going berserk in my brain, and I'm unable to, focus on what they're trying to tell me. And that's a big issue. Um, it's hard for me to concentrate in school. I have these thoughts that run through me. My triggers, which, the things that trigger your PTSD is the color pink. Minivans trigger my PTSD. Um, Obviously seeing a young girl, 9, 8, 9, 10, even younger, it disturbs my brain and it sends back memories of the images of the naked little girls. And I literally fear girls, like little girls. I'm literally afraid of them. Uh, as I'm afraid of men also. Um, so yeah, and it's nothing to play around with. Like, I avoid going to the bus stop. I can't even go to the bus stop to get my little brother. I use every excuse in the book not to go to get my brother from the bus stop because I'm afraid I might see a young little girl, and it's really hard. And that triggers my PTSD really bad. Um, so those are some of the triggers of my PTSD. What is it like getting PTSD? For me, panic attacks, experiencing the thoughts, or um, the images that I deleted off my dad's phone. My eyes kind of go numb, like they feel like they're numb, and then like I start like looking like all around the place. My eyes just bounce back and forth. Um, and I'm in a fear mode. I'm literally feared. Also, it said it's hard for people with PTSD to keep a relationship or get emotionally attached, and that is so true. This girl Brittany I known since sixth grade. We've been friends for 2.5 years now, almost 3 years, and um I loved her, and we went out, but then I started noticing a little bit of detachment. I felt on the phone. I felt hard to keep a conversation. How do I want to say? It was hard opening up to her. Um, what else? It's um, how do I want to say it? It just feels hard getting attached to someone, and I talked about this to my therapist or something, and what pretty much we came to the conclusion was when you lose someone that's closest to you. I'm not talking your best friend, that you lose in a little fight. I'm talking like your parent guardian. When you have that taken, when your best, the one you love the most in the whole wide world is taken from you, and you can never speak to them again, or you can never see them again, your guard goes way up. It's hard to get attached to something because you're gonna feel like, I've had, the man I love, you know, like taken away from me, and I can never see him again. So it's hard to attach to some things. You feel like, A, they're gonna leave, or it's just hard because you know what it's like. You know how easy it is to just lose someone, and um, and it's just really tough with relationships. Or yeah. So that's that. Um, yeah, but it's a lot of like people think you need PTSD from um, going to war or experiencing or seeing dead bodies or stuff like that. And that's not really what PTSD is at all. It's things that you witness that physically disturb your brain, and it's things that the brain is not supposed to see. I read it's witnessing things that the brain is not supposed to see, and PTSD is a result in how your body reacts to the things that you've seen, which would be night terrors, flashbacks, the what is it, the what's the word I'm looking for, the turn-ons to your what, like going to the bus stop, the triggers is another word. Going to the bus stop, seeing a little girl, seeing the color pink, seeing minivans, um and I'm ultimately faced everywhere I go with this, and PTSD hits hard almost everywhere I go. When I go to if I go to the bus stop, when I'm driving around and I see minivans, when I'm watching TV and there's a little girl getting tucked in by her mom or dad, um, when I see the color pink, when I sit in my living room on the couch, there is a window I can see out my door, and there's a cul-de-sac that goes down. Well, there's a little girl that lives in this cul-de-sac, and anytime I see cars turning to go down that cul-de-sac, um, my triggers happen. Um, So it's, or at school when I see like a little sixth grader, or in my fourth hour class, my math class, right out the window is little daycare at the school, and anytime I see like this little tiny girl with like a pink coat on, that triggers my PTSD. So I'll be sitting in class and I'll get triggers, you know, just like that. Not even from walking in the hallway and seeing a little girl, I can get a trigger from sitting in a classroom. That's It's hard to escape these, and it's tough. The night terrors of the little girls that come into my bed, that disturbed me and woke me right up out of my sleep. Um, so that pretty much sums it up for PTSD. Um, Now, maybe you're experiencing the same thing. Like I said, you don't have to go to war to get PTSD. You might tell someone that you have PTSD, and they most likely won't believe you because they feel like it's stereotypical that a soldier um, is the only person who can experience PTSD, and that's not the case scenario. But most commonly, it comes from people with PTSD who have been sexually assaulted, um, or witnessed something that disturbs the brain in general. And it can come from anywhere, seeing your dog being brutally killed in front of your face. Whatever. And the therapist or whatever said that the nightmares are results of what happened in the past, or the trauma that I go through, or the trauma that I experienced. And the nightmares are the results of that. There's a lot of nightmares of me getting shot, me shooting people, um, little girls attacking me in my sleep, or with hang ropes, or it's just awful. And even when I go to sleep, I can't escape it, guys, and it's just horrible because I'm always faced with the fear, and that's the thing, you're always faced with fear. And they had me on a medication, like I said, Strateria, and it increased, suicide thoughts. And I was originally sent to the hospital due to stealing my sister's car and going on joyrides. And it's proven that people with PTSD most likely take long car rides. Because when you're driving, you are not focused on what happened to you, whatever. You're focused on your surroundings, what's right in front of you, keeping the car in between the lines. It's all, how do you want to call it? Um, it's all tied in together, and people are like, why did you steal the car? Why do you drive? Or my therapist is like, why do you like driving so much? It's not sort of liking, it's like the sort of like relying on it, like it helped me. It's like a therapy almost. Also, what was another thing? Dipping tobacco. I searched up, PTSD and tobacco, and it shows that people that um, dip tobacco or smoke cigarettes, it helps with their anxiety, and it soothes. Something hits the brain with the tobacco, the nicotine. Something hits the brain, and you're no longer focusing on those memories. It soothes. They use the word soothes your memories, and like your trauma, it soothes it, and it temporarily gets rid of the trauma or the bad memories. But after a while, as the nicotine wears off, sometimes you're gonna experience those thoughts again, which then they also said that you get more anxiety between the time when you don't have a cigarette. So they're pretty much saying when you smoke a cigarette, it goes away, but your anxiety builds up as it builds up more, depending on how long it's been since you smoked. Your anxiety will go through the roof if you haven't had a cigarette in 3 hours. I go through the school day experiencing lots of triggers with PTSD. I go throughout the whole school day, 7-8 hours, without dip or cigarettes, and a lot of my triggers are, at school. Um, if I see a man or a teacher that looks like my dad, boom, trigger. If I see a little girl, boom, trigger. If I see the color, boom, pink, boom, trigger. And it's really hard, and I don't have access to that tobacco, or I can't leave, or I feel like I'm trapped with it. And even when I get home, it's it's like, you know I might not get cigarettes when I get home, so I might even go even longer without it. And it's just a big mess, and it ultimately sucks. So that's my aspect on PTSD, and that's what I suffer, and that's my case of PTSD. And those are my triggers, and those are the side effects that I get from PTSD. Every single thing I marked down. Um, what makes PTSD? Like all the factors in PTSD, I literally marked every, like, oh, I had that, I had that, I had that. I marked every single thing. Even a PTSD episode I've had. You hear about like how war heroes are in the kneel position, and they're holding a fake rifle, and they feel like the enemy's coming in and they're attacking them, when really they're just sitting and eating a bowl of cereal. I had this trigger when, my dad's been in jail for the past 2 years, and a few months ago, I had a PTSD episode where I was sleeping in my sister's room, and I thought my dad was going to come through the door and sexually assault her while she was sleeping. So I went downstairs, I grabbed a knife, and I went back upstairs, and I closed the door, and I laid my back against the door, and I had the knife right in my hand, ready, so when he came in, I would stab him. Or not just stab him, but I would defend her, and if needed, I'd use the knife. And then I came to the realization that he is not even in the same state, and he is behind bars right now. And I've known that for the past 2 years. But for a reason, your brain tells you, defend this person, this person's in danger, or whatnot, and you act on it. And, and you're not in the right state of mind, so like, what if my stepdad came through that door, and I just hopped up and stabbed whoever, was gonna go through that door. That's what's scary about it, is you're not really aware of your surroundings, you're just in that moment. But yeah, I've even experienced a PTSD episode, and um, I take one pill for night terrors, that often a lot of soldiers use for PTSD. It's like a PTSD medication. So, I've been medically diagnosed with PTSD. Now I'm gonna talk to my doctor and make sure that I do have PTSD, which I know for a fact I have PTSD. I know for a fact I do, but I just want to get it signed off that I actually do, so I can like make it legit, because I have PTSD. Who told you? It's just, people will accept the fact more that you have PTSD if someone like a professional, excused you from that. And yeah, like my best friend, I tried telling him, I have PTSD, and he's like, you haven't seen anything traumatic, you haven't been to war, and he hit me with that, and I'm like, really, dude, So yeah, and it's tough, and there's not really many medications that really get rid of it. Marijuana is, in fact, a medication that gets rid of anxiety. Your triggers go away. So that means if I'm going to the bus stop, I even have proof that marijuana like works with PTSD, because um, I got high, and I walked to the I walked to the garage where like my basketball hoop is, and there's this girl named Ellis, my little brother, friend, and she's about 6 or 7 years old, and then her little brother, and that case scenario, if I wasn't high, I'd most likely end up, going in my numbness eyes, the panicking, whatnot, the needing of getting away from the situation. I normally probably would have went inside, went downstairs, and played Xbox. And yeah, but actually, I didn't. My brain didn't even tell me. It wasn't even telling me, "Hey, there's danger right there." It wasn't telling me that. It was. It didn't tell me that, and I was just like, "Hey, what's up?" And then I was like, "Hey, you guys want to play pig?" I'm like stoned. I'm like, "Hey, you guys want to play pig? Shoot hoops." And it was almost as if she was pretty much, Ellis was pretty much telling me, "It's okay, Brandon. You don't have to fear me. You don't have to be scared of me. You don't need to fear me. I'm not here to hurt you." Is almost what she was telling me. And looking back now, that's what it's like she was telling me that is you don't have to fear me. And it was just a relief being able to actually like work with your fear, and it felt really good. And I feel like if I surround myself, not like this can ever happen, but if I like surround myself with little girls and get used to having them around me and maybe playing basketball with them, it will get rid of my fear and I will no longer fear them. So that could possibly work, but that can never happen. People will probably think I'm a pedophile for doing that. They're gonna be like, "Well, what are you hanging around with a bunch of little girls?" But it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be me overcoming, the fear. And that's that. This is a long enough video. This is my video on PTSD. Have a good night, y'all.